In this video, I'll demonstrate how to use Obsidian for note-taking. I've been searching tools for note-taking, file management, and time management tools for a long time. As a researcher, I read a lot and take a lot of notes. The notes are everywhere on my phone, on paper, on hard copy books, on my Kindle books, and on my printed PDF files of the articles. Sometimes I know I wrote down that idea somewhere, but I just couldn't find it. When I read articles, I take my notes in EndNotes. I also take notes in Word document, but the problem is that they are spread everywhere. Before I write my books, I have hundreds of pages of notes. For example, I'm working on my fourth book, and I now have 800 pages of notes in Word document. The problem is that you save a lot of information in Word documents and put them in different folders. It's very difficult to search it. Finally found this tool. It's called Obsidian, and this is the website, obsidian.md. MD means markdown. The best part is a free tool. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I use Obsidian to take notes and organize my thoughts. And I have been using it as I read academic literature. And I hope you also find this tool very helpful. To get this tool, you go to Obsidian website and download. You can also download the app for your phone and for your iPad. Since I'm using Windows, click download for Windows. I'm going to pause here because I've already downloaded. After downloading Obsidian, when you open it, you should be able to see this Obsidian version, create a vault, open folder as a vault, open a vault from Obsidian Sync. The first thing you do is to open a vault. What does a vault mean? Think about a vault as your bookshelves. You have different shelves on your books, and you may have multiple bookshelves. Just consider your vault covers all information that you want to use. You can create multiple vaults, but just remember, if you put files in different vaults, they are not talking to each other. With my experience, I think putting everything in one vault is good because I can build the link between different pieces of information. But if you want to keep information separated, then consider building different vaults. To create a new vault, click Create. As you can tell, I've already created my vault and I have thousands of files, and I don't think I need another vault. I simply just called my vault as my second brain. It is truly my second brain. But for this tutorial, I'm going to create a new vault. Click Create and you create a vault name. I'll just call it Example Vault. And then you can decide where you want to save this vault. Here, you need to decide whether you want all your information on your local computer or you want to sync your information when you use different devices. For example, I use my laptop and also use my desktop. I want to sync my files regardless of the digital device I use. So I choose my location in OneDrive. You can also do it for Dropbox, but that's your decision. Here I'm going to choose the location of my vault on the local device and then click Create. Here you go. This is new. This is a welcome page and this is a graph view. Why do they have two dots here? Here I call a note. You can create a new note. For example, you can go to a new tab and then create a new note. So this welcome is a new note. Your vote is right here. This is just a simple welcome page. But if I change the note name, for example, I'm going to change welcome and hello. You can see the note name here is already updated. So all right, I'm going to delete this welcome page and start from scratch. To delete the note, you go to these three dots and delete file. All right, now we have a blank slate. You can make Obsidian whatever you want to use, but for the purpose of using it for research and organize your literature to prepare for your literature review, your dissertation writing and article manuscript writing, I'm going to create a new note and I call it my research interest. And here you see one note is showing up, but this is just the name of my note. Next, I'm going to include something into my note. For example, I'm interested in your retention. Here we have a construct called teacher retention. Now I want to create a link between my research interest and teacher retention. To do that, you use double bracket. Now you see the link between my research interest and the teacher retention. Let's say you are a new researcher, you're still exploring what you want to study. Even for well-established researchers, sometimes you have multiple research interests. And then you can say, I'm also interested in how a group reaches a decision. Here it's a sentence, but there is no specific construct. I use double bracket. I'm going to say shared decision making. Now you can see under the notes, I have two links. One is linked to teacher retention. One is linked to shared decision making. You can also zoom in, zoom out. Now let's go to teacher retention. I want to dig deeper into this topic about teacher retention. What specific aspect I want to study about teacher retention? Is it about the teacher's relationship with their supervisor? Or is it about the teacher's relationship with their colleagues? Or I wanted to know what was the motivating factors for people to go into the profession of teaching? Why would people choose to go into teaching? One construct I can think about, or if you read some article about teacher retention, you can take your notes there too. I want to focus on motivation. These are my notes. As I'm thinking about this, it reminds me of the literature about motivation. Humans have three innate motives. We have power motive, achievement motive, and affiliation motive. We have these three motives. I want to make a list. You can use dash, space, or another way to do it, you highlight it, right click, you can choose bullet list or number list. If you want to dig deeper into power motive, you can click this and then take further notes. Or you can open a new tab, go to File, because I've already created a power motive, so it's already showing up there. Select the power motive, and then you begin to take further notes. We've already created some notes and the links between the notes. Let's go to Open Graph View and close this tab. This is the graph view, and you begin to see the linkage, right? We started from my research interest. I went to teacher retention and shared decision making, and I took more notes about the motives. Now let's go to shared decision making. What's the definition of shared decision making? Now I want to create a detailed notes. First, define shared decision making and some of the common mistakes in shared decision making. Those are the two sections I want to include in my notes. Define, right? Or definition. That's very important for research. You always need to define the terms you're talking about, because if you don't define it, we don't know what you're talking about. For example, in shared decision making, there are different components. For example, more than one individuals choose a course of action from a choice set. That's my definition, or the definition I find in the literature. Now I want to create different headings. I want definition to be the first heading. There are different ways to do it. I use my keyboard, pound key, and then space. Now that's definition. I want to create a second level heading. Then I use two pound key. For example, I want to create theoretical definition. And I also want to create operational definitions. More than one individual choose a course of action from a choice set. That's considered theoretical definition. And you can add the source, like how you write academic article, for example, 2021. I want that article to be a notes too. I add double bracket. And then I can open this note and then create, for example, it's an article that I published, or can I say bring work of emotions in readers. All right, that's the title of my article. Now, if I go back and then you can, we want to update internal links that link to this file. This will affect one link because yes, always update. Once I update this note title, if I go back, so note title is already updated. In the future, if I want to cite this article for the theoretical definition of shared decision making, what I need to do is to go to this file. I always add APA citation here. All right, now I want a heading, add a pound key on your keyboard and space. That's one way of doing it. Another way to do it is highlight the text, right click, select a paragraph, move down, go to heading 1. You can add, for example, as you read, this is the article and these are the notes that I take. Always remember, when you make a note, think about how you can link different ideas together. For example, in this article I wrote, I talk about emotion. As I was defining emotion, I talk about how to distinguish emotion from feeling. And then double brackets, and I talk about how different emotions influence social preference. It means some emotions makes you pro-social, that you want to help others. For example, gratitude make you want to help others. And for leadership, you want a lot of pro-social behaviors. But other emotions, under some circumstances, it can make people antisocial. For example, anger. When we're angry, we tend to be impulsive, right? As I'm talking about this, I want to add pro-social behavior and antisocial behavior. Later on, when you have a lot of notes, you can create folder and to organize them. For example, this is my research folder, and then you can add my research interest into this folder. Now let's look at what are the links we've already made in this file. Go to 3 dots on your right, and then select Open Local Graph. These are all the links that I made just under this one note. We have this note as an article, and I made so many connections between different pieces of information. The difference between this local graph and this open graph, think about this is just part of the graph just for the notes that you took. And this is the full graph. Let me close this. This is the full graph. Later on, as you begin to build more and more nodes and their connections, you will have a bird's eye view. Here is my Obsidian. These are all my files, and I created different folders. And this is a calendar plugin. I'll show you how I do it in a different video. If I go to Open Graph View, these are all my files. I can zoom in to see what are the central nodes that I have. For example, emotion here. Emotion is connected to so many nodes because that's part of my research. Also, empathy is connected to so many nodes. What about this one? Yeah, justice, motivation. This is a nodes that come from a neuroscience article I talk about. Moral decision making, that's one of the articles I'm currently writing about. And here, ethical leadership is related to so many nodes. What about this yellow one? 3 roots of online toxicity. What did I write there? Oh, okay. That's the article I read. The title is 3 Roots of Online Toxicity. I have my header as a first level heading. Define the term. The term I want to define is accountability. This is the definition. Affective polarization, affordance agent. These are all the terms I want to define. What are the notes that this is APA citation, and this is the link of the article. In the future, if I want to cite this article in my writing, then I can just come here and find the citation. It's so much easier than using EndNote. These are my notes. Toxicities in online interactions is a growing significant concern. It has broad effects such as polarization, This is the link. As you can see, I use double bracket here. Misinformation and moral outrage. What's the role of the online and disembodied nature of interaction in giving rise to such toxicity? 3 roots of online toxicity: disembodiment, limited accountability. The article talks about anonymity. People hide their identity online, which is part of a bad barrel system. And this is my own notes. The article didn't say that. As I was reading the article talking about the anonymity, it reminds me that anonymity is one of the signs of a bad barrel system. If I click this note, it will guide me to the bad barrel system. Where did I learn this? It's from Zimbardo's book. The name of the book is called The Lucifer Effect, and this is the citation. Now, how to find my notes? You can go to File and find or create a note here. I remember my note name is called Bad Barrel System. Here you go. It's already there. That's how you find it. And it's related to moral decision making. It talks about if somebody exhibits unethical behavior, sometimes it's not about that person, it's a bad apple. Sometimes it's about the system in the organization. It's a bad barrel system. These are the 7 indicators of a bad barrel organizational system. Anonymity, accountability right here. Anonymity, masking identity. And then diffusing personal responsibility. For example, making group decisions as a committee under the mask of democracy. And that's related to accountability. Blind obedience to authority. And I created the new notes. If I want to highlight the text, there are 2 ways. First is to select text, right-click, go to Format, and then select a highlight. Or you can use double equal signs. For example, double equal sign, and I only want to highlight the word consequences. This is how you highlight the text in Obsidian. Let me show you how to use Obsidian to complete the assignment in my course. In the workbook that I share with you all at the beginning of the semester, I have a research development worksheet. You can write your answers down on paper, but for you to keep your thoughts organized, you can create a new note. I've already created it for you. The title of the note is called Research Development Worksheet. Those are different questions that I put in the workbook. I want you to keep thinking about how you want to answer those questions, and then this thought process will help you link different pieces of information that you learn throughout the course or your doctoral learning journey. Here, step 1, this is my first level heading. I use pound key. What specific area are you passionate about? You can write down your answer. For example, teacher retention. You can write down your answer there. And if you already had some notes, then, oh, here is my class activity. Well, I use it because I'm a teacher, right? Anyway, for example, I'm also interested in burnout. Here, I click burnout. Here, National Center for NCES estimates the principal turnover rates are approximately 18% nationally. This is a source. I probably need to update my source. I should use the most recent one, not the data 4 years ago, particularly after COVID. Okay, so this is an article talk about the stress contagion in the classroom, the link between classroom teacher burnout and morning cortisol in elementary school students. For this article, I created the notes, stress contagion and cortisol. I also create how to measure operational definition. This is how to measure burnouts. This is the survey instrument. If I click this, this is the citation. Those are my notes. It's you write down your answers. You can build the connection between your research development thought process and the literature that you read. One more example. In my course of theories of leadership, administration, and management, we're going to learn a lot of theories. For each of the theories that you learn in my course, for example, we are going to learn implicit power motive. Here, a plus sign in the file icon means that I use double brackets to create this node, but there's nothing in there. But here, implicit power motive and power, I know I have my notes there. So this is the one that I want to use. Later on, you can merge these two notes together. Here's the notes of implicit power motive. This is the quote that I may use later on. These are APA citations, and these are the notes that I took. People have higher implicit power motive are known to have higher resting level epinephrine secretion. Anyway, this is how I took my notes. How to create these notes for each of the theory or construct that you learn in this course. I'm going to show you an example that I created, a theory that we will not cover in this course, which is called intergroup leadership. All right, I've already created these notes. For this theory, you put in APA citations. In the future, when you want to cite intergroup leadership, this is where you go. Definition of constructs. This theory is built on social identity theory of leadership, which is the theory that we will learn in our course. This is the term. We have the definition. Those are all different terms and operational definition of intergroup relational identity, and see this article because I think this article is very helpful. This intergroup relational identity is a 5-item scale. Those are the 5 items you ask when you want to measure intergroup relational identity. These are the theoretical propositions. For example, this theory is developed from social identity theory. These are the direct quotes. I will even put the page numbers there because I may use direct quotes. I don't know. Right now, I'm just taking notes. This E25, that means episode 25 of my Game of Theories. This is the YouTube link. This is the note that I create as I was preparing to make that video. This is my theoretical proposition level 1 heading. Theory development, that's my level 2 heading. So you can see the double pound keys and double brackets. Scroll down. I also wrote about the assumption. The tacit assumption is that the group comprises a collection of individuals who, with the help of leadership, come to perceive themselves through the lens of a shared and internalized social identity. In essence, the leader is leading a group of individuals, and leadership is a process through which the many become the one. So the many becomes the one. Maybe the direct quote that I will use at some point, I don't know. Right now, I'm just taking notes. And here is the theoretical arguments, how to promote intergroup relational identity. This is direct quotes. This is a copy and paste from that article. Here, it talks about diversity initiatives often fail because they communicate and emphasize subgroup differences, preferential treatment, and zero-sum relationships to the exclusion of intergroup relational identity and superordinate identity. What's the definition of superordinate identity? It's right here. To paper over subgroup differences and emphasize through messaging and action a common identity that embodies shared attributes, goals, and practices. We are all one. And this is how to promote interrelational identity, use rhetoric, and then these are the details of how to use rhetoric, behavioral embodiment of strong, significant group membership based on links and interactions with both in and out subgroup members, a coalition of boundary-spanning leaders, external appointment of leader, and transferring successfully established relationship between subgroups. Here is how I answer that question. To create a superordinate identity, I can, and then you can add your notes, what you can do to use the rhetoric to build strong and significant group membership based on links and interaction with both in and out subgroup members. And then you can add your notes there. Critical thinking. Does this theory addresses what, how, why, and when? What? Yes, this theory has very clear definition of different terms. For example, here, social identity, group prototype, leadership, subordinate identity, intergroup relational identity. And they also have operational definition. Many of the constructs in our field of educational leadership do not have operational definitions. This theory has clearly defined constructs. How this intergroup leadership works, and then why it works. It didn't clearly say how it works. Then I may be able to add more argument on that and when it works. That's the boundary of this theory, because no theory works under all circumstances. And there should be a boundary there. If the authors or the scholars who proposed this theory have not defined the boundaries, like under what circumstances this theory works and under what circumstances this theory does not work, then you can explore that in your research. Last question, based on your observations and experience, propose specific modifications that could enhance the theory's applicability or present an argument to refute the theory. This is how you can refine existing theories and build a better theory, or use empirical evidence to tell us that the existing theory is all wrong. After you finish your notes for this course, you can export all your notes to a PDF file. You go to the three dots right here and then select export to PDF, and then you can export to PDF, and this is the PDF file that you will upload to Canvas. One last thing, how to create a template. Every time you create a new node, you don't need to type in all these headers. Let me show you how to do it. To create a template, we first need to go to new folder and name the folder template. And under this folder, right click, we open a new note, and I can close this note. Right now I'm creating a template. For example, theory. I want to create a theory template. What do I need to include in the theory template? We need APA citations, definitions of constructs, theoretical propositions, application of the theory, critical thinking. Those are the questions that you need to answer in your note-taking. To create the header, you add pound key, or you right-click the text, use paragraph, and select different levels of headings. We created a template. Where is this template saved? It's under this folder. It's called Theory Template. And you can create different templates. But for this assignment, we use this theory template. You can consider theory template as a note, and it's saved in the folder called template. Now I need to tell Obsidian in the future when I create a new node that I can use this theory template. To do so, we go to Settings and then select under Core Plugins, find Templates. Now we need to define template location. Where is it located? It's under Template. Remember, this is a folder. Now I have two options because I have two folders. One is called Research that we just set up. Another one is called Template. You select the template, date format, time format. We can use the default setting and close. Now we create a new note called Instructional Leadership. I want to use this theory template so I don't have to type in all the headers. To do that, we use Control P on Windows. If you use Mac, use Command P. Select a command, you type in template, insert template. And here you go. Now you can simply just add citation, article 1, citation, and then you can add definition of constructs, for example, instruction curriculum, and then shared vision, double brackets. And then you can take your notes there. After you completed your notes for that theory, to submit your notes for the assignment, go to three dots, more options, go down, export to PDF. That's the PDF file you will submit as assignment for this course. To create your graph view, go to Open Graph View, click it, and then go to three dots, more options, copy screenshot. It says screenshot copy to the clipboard, And what you can do is to open a Word file and paste. You can right click, save as a picture, and submit it. The point of having you submit a graph view is that I want to know that you are creating all the linkages between the different theories and your thoughts and the articles that you read. What I expect to see is that as you learn different theories, you begin to make connections of different construct to your research interest and to make connections with your research development worksheet. That's when you begin to build the links of different pieces of information in your research. If you select the more options and explore a little bit more, you are also able to see the local graph. Since I have different headers by using different pound keys, I can also see the outline. Let me close this and go to open linked view, and I can open outline. If you select one header, and you will go directly to that section and you begin to add your notes, which makes it much easier to navigate. Another thing I want to show you is under this open linked view, you can also look at the outgoing links. What are outgoing links? As the name suggests, this is one note. And these are other nodes that linked to instructional leadership. We can also look at backlinks. I don't think we have backlinks here, but if we create a new node or go to an existing file, let's say I want to go to transformational leadership, and I want to take notes that the missing part of this theory is that it was developed in the business management without considering the unique settings in education. To fill this gap, researchers developed instructional leadership. All right. Now you see backlinks for instructional leadership comes from transformational leadership. You can also use graph view to give you a visual illustration. Let me close this. Now you see the relationship between transformational leadership and instructional leadership. I just demonstrated how to create a node for each of the theories you'll learn in this semester. What if I want to connect the articles that apply to this theory or the articles about this theory that I want to read more? For example, diversity is one of the constructs we will learn in our theory course. In my answer to applications of the theory, how would you apply this theory to address a specific problem in your workplace? And I took this note. This article studied cognitive diversity, and this is the article name. So I've already created a note that includes this article. In the future, if I want to cite this article, I remember the article's name, Mallow and Wrench. It's already there, and you can easily copy and paste to cite this article. One thing I'd like to point out, when you copy and paste the article, the original title here is colon, but the note name doesn't accept the colon. It says the file name cannot contain any of these characters, so I replace colon as a period. You can see I have a lot of connections of different articles and construct that I read. This is stress, which is related to leaders' decision making. This node is amygdala. What's this node about? As I read articles, I began to make connections because when you read one thing, your train of thought will lead you to another article or another construct. And this process of absorbing new information and connecting your new information to the information you've already learned in the past, this is very similar to how human memory system works. This process is actually called memory consolidation. While we're in deep sleep, the memory consolidation process is taking place. Memory consolidation is a process by which the short-term memory are transformed into existing memory networks in the brain and using Obsidian to connect new pieces of information to the information we've already learned. It's very similar to our human brain works. And this process of building linkage, as you use this method to take notes, you are actually creating your own Wikipedia. To complete the assignment in this semester, you can't just copy and paste the answers you get from ChatGPT. I want to see all the connections you made. You create a new note and make connections to other notes. As you go through this process, you are also thinking through how different theories and constructs can be applied to your research. If your note doesn't have the connections, that means you're not really thinking. What I want to see is the network of the knowledge that you create in this course to show me that you're making progress every week in this semester. I also want you to submit your graph view. You go to Open Graph View and copy screenshot, open a Word document, and download this file as a picture and also submit to Canvas. My goal is to see how many connections you made as you learn new knowledge. Or you can also just do a screen capture and submit the picture to Canvas as a part of your weekly assignment.